It's 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. I'm locked in my own bathroom, crying into a towel so my husband won't hear me. Not because I'm sad about something that happened, but because if he wakes up and finds me crying, he'll be angry that I'm being dramatic again. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I don't recognize the woman staring back at me. Her eyes are hollow. Her face is pale. She looks like a ghost of someone who used to exist. And I'm thinking, how did I get here? How did the girl who was voted most likely to change the world end up hiding in her own bathroom, afraid to cry out loud? My name is Elena Rodriguez. I'm 32 years old. And this is the story of how I spent 8 years in a marriage that slowly suffocated me because I believed that love meant enduring pain, staying silent, and sacrificing everything I was. This is the story of how I almost disappeared completely, and how I finally chose to save myself. If you've ever felt like you're losing yourself in a relationship, if you've ever wondered if what you're experiencing is normal or toxic, if you've ever stayed way longer than you should have because you thought that's what love required, this story is for you. Let me take you back to where it all began. 8 years before that bathroom breakdown. I was 24, fresh out of grad school, full of hope and ambition. I'd just gotten my master's in social work, had a job lined up at a non-profit working with at-risk youth, and felt like my life was finally beginning. I met Marcus Chen at a wedding because of course I did. Every terrible love story starts at a wedding, doesn't it? He was the best man. Tall, handsome, impeccably dressed in a suit that probably cost more than my rent. I was a bridesmaid, dancing barefoot on the grass with my friends, laughing too loud, completely carefree. He approached me at the bar. "You have the most incredible laugh," he said, and his smile was like sunshine. "I've been watching you all night. You light up every room you're in." Now, let me pause here to tell you something I wish I'd known then. When someone you just met says they've been watching you all night, that's not romantic. That's a red flag wrapped in flattery. But I was 24 and thought it was fate. Marcus was everything. I wasn't polished, successful, wealthy. He was 29, working as a financial analyst, driving a luxury car, living in a penthouse downtown. He seemed so put together. So adult. So certain about everything. And he was pursuing me with an intensity that felt like passion. He called every single day. Multiple times. "I just wanted to hear your voice," he'd say. He sent flowers to my tiny apartment, expensive arrangements that seemed too big for my cramped living room. He took me to restaurants where the menu had no prices and the waiters wore tuxedos. He texted constantly, "Thinking about you. Can't wait to see you. You're the most amazing woman I've ever met." 3 weeks in, he said, "I think I'm falling in love with you." 3 weeks. I should have been alarmed. Instead, I was flattered. I thought, this is what real love feels like. This intensity. This certainty. This overwhelming focus. What I didn't know then, what I wish someone had told me, is that love bombing is not love. It's a manipulation tactic. It's how abusers hook you fast, before you have time to see who they really are. But I was young and naive and desperately wanting to believe I'd found my person. So when Marcus said, "You're different from other women. You care about things that matter. You're not shallow or materialistic. You're exactly what I've been looking for," I believed him. I believed that he saw something special in me. What he actually saw was someone he could mold. Someone who was kind enough to make excuses for bad behavior. Someone who was empathetic enough to prioritize his feelings over her own. Someone who was insecure enough to feel grateful that someone like him chose someone like me. I was the perfect prey. And I had no idea. The changes started small. So small I barely noticed them. 3 months in, Marcus invited me to a work dinner. "Important colleagues," he said. "I really want you there." I was excited. I bought a dress, spent way more than I could afford on my non-profit salary, thought I looked nice. When Marcus picked me up and saw what I was wearing, his face changed. Just slightly. A small tightening around his eyes. "That's what you're wearing?" he asked. My stomach dropped. "Is it wrong? You said it was formal." "It's formal, it's just." He sighed. "Elena, these are senior partners. Their wives wear designer labels. That dress looks cheap." That word cheap hit me like a slap. "I can't afford designer labels," I said quietly, feeling my face burn with shame. "I'm a social worker. This dress cost me a week's grocery budget." Immediately, Marcus softened. He took my hands. "Hey, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I just want you to feel confident tonight. You're so beautiful, you deserve beautiful things. Come on, let's go shopping." My treat. "Marcus, I can't let you buy me a dress." "Why not?" "I want to. Please. Let me do this for you." We went shopping. The dress he bought cost $800. $800 for one dress that I'd wear once. At dinner, I was quiet. These people talked about vacation homes in the Hamptons, private schools, stock portfolios. I had nothing to contribute. I felt like an imposter in my expensive dress, playing a role I wasn't qualified for. "You were really quiet tonight," Marcus said afterward, and there was disappointment in his voice. I didn't know what to say. "I don't know anything about their world." "You just need to make more of an effort. Ask questions. Show interest. These are important connections for my career. For our future." Our future. The words made my heart skip. So, I decided I needed to try harder. Be better. Fit into his world. That was my first compromise. My first step towards losing myself. I didn't realize I was starting down a path I wouldn't recognize until I'd gone so far, I couldn't see the way back. The changes kept coming. Each one small. Each one is reasonably sounding. Each one pulled me further from who I was. 6 months in, Marcus started commenting on my friends. "Girls' night again," he would say when I mentioned plans with my college roommates. "Don't you think you're getting too old for cheap bars and drunk conversations?" "We're 25. That's not old. I just think you could be more selective about your time. Your friends, they're not really going anywhere, are they? Sarah's still in retail. Jessica's temping. They're not ambitious like you." I started cancelling on my friends. At first because Marcus had made other plans for us. Then because I started feeling the gap widening between our lives. They were struggling with bills and bad dates. I was going to wine tastings in Napa and business dinners with millionaires. When I did see them, I couldn't relate anymore. They'd talk about their problems, and mine seemed privileged by comparison. Eventually, they stopped inviting me. I'd become that friend, the one who disappeared into her relationship. Marcus also had opinions about my career. "Social work," he said one night when I was stressed about a case. "Elena, you're too smart for a field that pays nothing and burns people out. You could do anything. Why waste your potential?" "Because it matters. Because I want to help people." You can help people in lots of ways. Corporate HR helps people. Non-profit management helps people. But social work? You'll be broke and exhausted. Is that really what you want? His words planted doubt. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was being naive. When I graduated, I had 3 job offers. One was at a community center, exactly what I'd studied for, meaningful work with at-risk youth. The pay was modest. The other 2 were corporate positions Marcus had helped me get through his connections. Better pay. Better benefits. More respectable. Take the corporate job, Marcus urged. Just for a few years. Build savings. Then you can always go back to social work later. Later. Everything meaningful was always supposed to happen later. I took the corporate job. On my first day, wearing a conservative suit Marcus helped me pick out, I looked at my reflection and saw a stranger. She looked professional, polished, successful. She didn't look like me. But I told myself this was growth. This was becoming more mature, more realistic, more adult. What it actually was, the systematic dismantling of everything that made me, me. 2 years into our relationship, Marcus proposed. We were at an expensive restaurant, the kind where they bring your napkin back folded differently when you go to the bathroom. Other diners watched as he got down on one knee, pulled out a ring with a diamond so big it looked fake. Elena, I love you. You challenge me, you inspire me, you make me want to be better. I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me? Everyone was watching, waiting, smiling. And all I could think was, I'm not ready. I wasn't ready because something felt wrong. I couldn't name it. It wasn't any one big thing. Just 1,000 small things that had accumulated into a weight I was carrying. I'd lost touch with my friends. I barely saw my family. I'd taken a job I hated. I'd started dressing differently, talking differently, acting differently. I didn't laugh as loud anymore. Didn't dance badly anymore. Didn't speak my mind anymore. I'd become carefully curated. Constantly monitored. Always aware of what Marcus would think, what would please him, what would avoid disappointing him. But how do you say no when someone's kneeling in front of you with a ring? When a restaurant full of people is watching? When you've invested 2 years and everyone thinks he's such a great catch? Yes, I heard myself say. Yes, I'll marry you. The restaurant applauded. Marcus kissed me. The ring pinched my finger. It was too tight, but I smiled through it. That night, I called my mother. Mom, Marcus proposed. Oh, Mija. Are you happy? Am I happy? The question felt impossible to answer. Yes, I lied. Very happy. You don't sound happy. I'm just overwhelmed. But I wasn't overwhelmed with joy. I was overwhelmed with dread. Planning the wedding showed me exactly what my marriage would be like. But I was too far in to back out now. Marcus had opinions about everything. Strong opinions that somehow always became the final decision. I wanted something small and intimate. Marcus wanted to invite 300 people. Business connections. We can't not invite them. I wanted a garden wedding. Marcus insisted on a country club ballroom. We need something impressive. I wanted to include some element of my Hispanic heritage. Maybe my grandmother's recipes, maybe some traditional music. Marcus said, let's keep it traditional. Your relatives might feel more comfortable with familiar food. Translation. His family and friends wouldn't want to eat ethnic food. Every single decision went his way. And I learned to stop fighting. Because fighting meant he'd give me the silent treatment for days. Fighting meant he'd make me feel selfish and difficult. Fighting meant listening to how I was being too sensitive about things that didn't really matter. So, I agreed. To the country club. To the 300 guests I didn't know. To the menu that had nothing to do with me or my family. To the wedding that felt like a performance for other people rather than a celebration of us. My best friend Jessica, my maid of honor, pulled me aside during dress shopping. Elena, this doesn't feel like your wedding. Nothing about this feels like you. I'm just trying to make sure everyone's happy. What about you? Are you happy? I couldn't answer. Because I didn't know anymore. The wedding day itself was beautiful. Objectively beautiful. 300 guests. Stunning flowers. expensive everything. And I felt absolutely nothing except dread. But I smiled for the photos, said my vows, kissed my new husband, and stepped into a marriage I already knew I didn't want. Because I thought I had invested too much to back out now. Because I thought cold feet was normal. Because I thought love meant commitment even when you weren't sure. Because I thought endurance was virtue. I had no idea that I'd just signed up for 8 years of slowly disappearing. They say the first year of marriage is the hardest. What they don't tell you is that for some people, it's hard because you're adjusting to partnership. For others, it's hard because you're realizing you've made a terrible mistake. We moved into a house Marcus picked out. Too big. Too expensive. In a neighborhood where I knew no one. It's a good investment, he said. We'll grow into it.
I never grew into it. That house always felt like Marcus's house where I happened to live. 6 months into the marriage, I couldn't take the corporate job anymore. I was suffocating. I quit and took a position at a non-profit back to the work I actually cared about. The pay cut was significant, but I felt like myself again. Marcus hated it. "You're making $40,000 a year with a master's degree," he said, disgust dripping from every word. "Do you know how that makes me look? My wife working at some tiny non-profit. It's not about you. It's about me doing work that matters. Everything you do reflects on me. We're married. You're not just Elena Rodriguez anymore. You're Elena Chen. You represent this family. This family." As if marrying him meant I'd ceased to exist as my own person. The arguments became frequent. Except they weren't really arguments, they were lectures. Marcus would explain why I was wrong, why my feelings were invalid, why my perspective was flawed. And I would try to defend myself, but he was so good with words, so logical and calm while I got emotional, that I always ended up feeling like I was the problem. "You're too sensitive. You're overreacting. You're being dramatic. You're taking things too personally." Every feeling I had was wrong. Every concern was dismissed. Every attempt to communicate became proof that I was difficult. So, I learned to stop talking. It was just easier that way. The first time Marcus gave me the silent treatment, it lasted 3 days. I'd made plans to visit my parents without checking with him first. When I mentioned it casually, his jaw tightened. "You made plans without consulting me." "I'm just going for the day on Saturday. I'll be back by evening." "That's not the point. We're married. You don't make unilateral decisions." "Marcus, they're my parents. I didn't think I needed permission." "It's not about permission. It's about respect. Obviously, you don't respect me enough to include me in your decisions." Then he walked away. And for 3 days, he didn't speak to me. Not one word. He'd come home from work, eat dinner in his study, go to bed without acknowledging my existence. I tried to apologize, tried to talk to him, tried to understand what I'd done that was so terrible. He looked through me like I was invisible. Do you know what that feels like? Living in the same house with someone who refuses to acknowledge you exist. It's worse than yelling. Worse than fighting. It's erasure. It's being made to feel like you're nothing. On day 3, I broke. I apologized profusely. Promised I'd never make plans without checking with him first. Cancelled my visit to my parents. Only then did Marcus speak to me again. "I just need you to consider us as a team. Is that so hard?" The silent treatment became his favorite weapon. Any time I disagreed with him, any time I did something he didn't like, any time I wasn't compliant, enough silence. Days of being treated like I didn't exist. I learned to avoid conflict at all costs. Learned to check every decision with him. Learned to prioritize his mood over my needs. I became very, very small. 3 years into the marriage, I realized I had no one to call. My college best friends Jessica and Sarah had stopped reaching out. I'd cancelled on them too many times. Marcus always had something planned. Or he was in a bad mood and I didn't want to leave him alone. Or he made me feel guilty. You're choosing them over me. Again. Eventually, they stopped inviting me. When Jessica got engaged, I found out on social media. We'd promised each other since freshman year we'd be each other's maids of honor. But I wasn't even invited to the bridal party. I sent a congratulations text. She replied politely. We didn't make plans to meet. I'd become a ghost to my own life. My family saw me rarely. Every visit required negotiating with Marcus. Your family is so loud, he'd complain. Can't they talk at normal volume? And why so much food? It's excessive. He was criticizing the warmth I loved about my family, the loud laughter, the generous abundance, the way we expressed love through feeding people. I started making excuses. We couldn't come to Sunday dinner, Marcus had work stuff. Couldn't make my cousin's quinceañera. We had plans. Couldn't host Christmas, our house wasn't set up for it. My mother called less. When we talked, there was distance. Are you okay, Mija? I'm fine, Mama. Just busy. You sound different. You sound tired. I was tired. Exhausted from the emotional labor of constantly managing Marcus's moods. Drained from monitoring every word and action to avoid setting him off. Depleted from being someone I wasn't. But I said, I'm the same. Everything's good. Lying had become second nature. I had no friends. My family felt distant. My co-workers were friendly but not close. I had Marcus. Only Marcus. And that's exactly how he wanted it. Isolated people are easier to control. They have no one to reality check what's happening. No one to say this isn't normal. No one to offer a lifeline. I was completely, utterly alone. And I didn't even realize it was by design. 5 years in, I hit bottom. I was depressed, anxious, barely eating, couldn't sleep. I felt like a machine. Wake up, go to work, come home, make dinner, clean up, go to bed, repeat. I think we need couples therapy, I told Marcus. He looked annoyed. Why? We're fine. We're not fine. I'm miserable. We barely talk. I feel like we're roommates, not married. You're being dramatic. You're just in one of your moods. I'm not in a mood. I'm telling you I'm unhappy and asking you to go to counseling. Marcus sighed like I was an inconvenient child. Fine. If it'll make you stop complaining. We found a therapist, Dr. Patricia Moreno. In our first session, Marcus painted a picture of our marriage that sounded almost healthy. Just minor communication issues. He was calm, articulate, reasonable. He made it sound like I was demanding and emotional over nothing. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't know where to start. How do you explain death by 1,000 cuts? I feel invisible, I finally said. Like nothing I say matters. Like my whole purpose is keeping Marcus happy. I don't make you invisible, Marcus said, seeming genuinely confused. You're being oversensitive. You take everything too personally. Over several sessions, a pattern emerged. I'd express hurt. Marcus would deny it happened that way, claim I was exaggerating, or explain why my feelings were irrational. Dr. Moreno asked to speak with me alone. Elena, I'm concerned about what I'm seeing. When you express feelings, Marcus consistently invalidates them. He rewrites your experiences. He makes you doubt your own perceptions. That's gaslighting, a form of emotional manipulation. He's not manipulating me, I said defensively. He just sees things differently. Does he? Or does he refuse to see your perspective at all? I didn't have an answer. After 6 sessions, Marcus refused to continue. This therapist is biased. She's turning you against me. We don't need therapy. You just need to stop being so negative. The therapy that was supposed to help us only showed me how broken we were. But I still wasn't ready to leave. The turning point came on an ordinary Thursday. I came home late from work 9 p.m. One of our youth clients, a 15-year-old girl, had attempted to hurt herself. I'd stayed to coordinate resources, support the family, make sure she was safe. I was emotionally devastated. Shaking. Running on empty. When I walked in, Marcus was furious. "Where the hell have you been?" "Work. I texted you. We had an emergency." "You texted at 6:30 saying you'd be late. It's 9 o'clock. That's not late, that's half the night." "Marcus, a child tried to hurt herself today. I had to stay." "And what about Emmy?" Marcus shouted. "What about your husband who's been home alone all evening? You don't make dinner, you don't call, you just decide your little non-profit job is more important than your marriage." Something in me snapped. Maybe it was the stress of the day. Maybe it was 5 years of accumulated rage. Maybe I'd just finally reached my limit. "A 15-year-old girl almost harmed today," I said, my voice shaking with fury. "I'm sorry if that inconvenienced your dinner plans." "Don't you dare take that tone with me," Marcus said, face red, finger pointing. "I'm sick of you and your martyr complex. Your meaningful work that pays nothing while you neglect your actual responsibilities." "My actual responsibilities? Like making your dinner? Like being home when you expect me? Like being a wife?" Marcus screamed. "Like putting your marriage first instead of random kids who don't even appreciate what you do." I stared at him. Really looked at him. And I saw clearly, maybe for the first time, who he actually was. Someone who genuinely believed my value was measured by how well I served him. Someone who saw compassion as a flaw. Someone who viewed my work as competition. Someone who thought my needs were inconvenient. "I want a divorce," I heard myself say. The word surprised both of us. Marcus's anger shifted instantly. "Elena, don't be ridiculous. You're upset. You had a hard day. Let's sleep on this." "We've been sleeping on this for 5 years, I said, and my voice was eerily calm. "I'm done." I went to the bedroom and started packing a bag. Marcus followed, alternating between anger and pleading. "You can't just leave. We're married. We made vows." "Vows you broke every time you made me feel worthless," I said, shoving clothes into a suitcase. "Every time you punished me with silence. Every time you dismissed my feelings. Every time you made me choose between my work and your ego. I gave you everything." Marcus shouted. "A beautiful home. Financial security. A good life. What more do you want?" "I want to be seen," I said through tears. "I want to matter. I want to be a person, not an accessory to your life." I left that night. Drove to my parents' house with one hastily packed suitcase. And finally I cried. My mother held me while I sobbed out 5 years of suppressed pain. She didn't say "I told you so," even though I knew she'd seen what I couldn't. "Mi amor," she whispered. "Welcome back. We've missed you." Marcus didn't accept my decision. For weeks, he called, texted, emailed, showed up unannounced. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize how unhappy you were. Let me make it up to you." Part of me wanted to believe him. Wanted to give another chance. Wanted to believe people could change. "Maybe I gave up too easily," I said to my mother. She gave me a look. "Elena, you stayed for 5 years while that man destroyed who you were. That's not giving up easily." "But marriage is supposed to be work." "Work is both people trying," my mother interrupted. "What you had was one person slowly crushing another. That's not a rough patch. That's abuse." Abuse. The word hit like ice water. "He never hit me," I said automatically. There are many ways to hurt someone without fists. I started individual therapy. Dr. Rivera specialized in emotional abuse recovery. She had me take a quiz behaviors that characterize emotional abuse. Does your partner criticize you frequently? Yes. Does your partner make your feelings feel invalid? Yes. Does your partner isolate you from friends and family? Yes. Does your partner use silent treatment as punishment? Yes. Does your partner make you responsible for their happiness? Yes. Does your partner gaslight you? Yes. I checked almost every box. Why did I stay so long? I asked, voice breaking. Because it happened gradually. Because you thought love meant endurance. Because he convinced you that you were the problem. The divorce took 8 months. Marcus fought me on everything, not because he wanted to save the marriage, but to punish me for leaving. He hired an aggressive attorney. Suddenly, the man who loved me was claiming I was mentally unstable, financially irresponsible, had abandoned the marriage. He wanted me to pay him spousal support. He rewrote history. A forced me to maintain a lifestyle. E prioritized her low-paying work over my advancement. My attorney leaned over during one session. This is what abusers do. They rewrite the narrative to make themselves the victim. The divorce finally finalized. I got very little. Marcus had better lawyers. I walked away with some personal items, a small settlement, and my freedom. The freedom was worth everything. After the divorce, I felt lost. I'd spent 8 years, my entire 20s, molding myself to Marcus's expectations. Now, without those expectations, I didn't know who I was. I was 32, living in my parents' spare room, starting over with almost nothing. Dr. Rivera gave me an assignment: list everything you stopped doing because of Marcus. I started writing. I stopped dancing. I stopped singing in the car. I stopped cooking the foods I grew up with. I stopped speaking Spanish. I stopped being spontaneous. I stopped laughing loudly. I stopped volunteering on weekends. I stopped going to church. I stopped taking photographs. I stopped writing in my journal. I stopped having opinions that contradicted his. The list went on for pages. Looking at it, I felt grief for all those lost pieces. But I also felt determination. I was going to get them all back. I reached out to Jessica. I know I've been a terrible friend. I know I disappeared. But I'm divorced now, and I'm trying to find my way back to who I used to be. That person valued you more than anything. I'm so sorry. She called me within minutes. I've been waiting for this call. I knew someday you'd find your way out. She drove 3 hours to see me, leaving her husband and baby. When I opened the door, she pulled me into a fierce hug. I should have fought harder for you, she said. You couldn't have saved me. I had to save myself. Through Jessica, I reconnected with all my college friends. They welcomed me back with open arms. We have 8 years to catch up on, Sarah declared at our first girls' night in years. And I told them everything. About Marcus. About losing myself. About finding my way back. Who are you now? Jessica asked. I don't know yet. But I'm excited to find out. Recovery wasn't just big moments. It was small, everyday freedoms. Wearing sweatpants without worrying someone would say I'd let myself go. Making plans without having to negotiate or justify. Cooking spicy Mexican food. Filling the kitchen with the sense of home. Speaking Spanish with my family again. Letting the language flow naturally. Dancing in the kitchen while making breakfast. Going to church with my mother on Sundays. Taking up photography again. Writing in a journal without fear. Having opinions and expressing them freely. Taking up space without apologizing. I discovered I actually liked who I was when I wasn't trying to shrink myself. 2 years after my divorce, I met David Rodriguez at a community event. He was a middle school teacher, volunteering his Saturday. He had an easy smile, genuine warmth with kids, and didn't immediately hit on me. When he did ask me out, he said, "Coffee. As friends or more, whatever you're comfortable with. No pressure." No pressure. That was new. Our first coffee turned into 3 hours of conversation. He'd been divorced 3 years earlier, his ex-wife cheated. He'd done therapy. Rebuilt himself. "How do you trust again?" he asked. "Slowly. Very slowly. With someone willing to be patient." He nodded. "I can do slow." David and I dated for a year before he met my family. Not because he didn't want to, but because I needed time to be sure. Time to watch how he handled conflict with calm communication. Time to see if he'd try to change me. He didn't. Time to check if his kindness was real. It was. My mother loved him. This one doesn't try to make himself bigger by making you smaller. When we had conflicts, David didn't give me the silent treatment. He said, "I need time to cool down, but we'll talk tonight." And he did. He didn't need me to be perfect. He just needed me to be authentic. "I'm terrified," I told him one evening. "Every time things are good, I wait for you to suddenly change." "I understand," David said. "We're both carrying old wounds. We talk about them. We give each other grace. We don't punish each other for what other people did." It was revolutionary, the idea that we could both be healing, both be imperfect, and still build something healthy. 3 years in, David proposed. We were at the youth center, having just finished a program. Kids had left. We were cleaning up. He stopped me mid-sentence. "Marry me." I laughed. "What?" "Marry me. I love you. I love your ideas, your passion, your heart. I love who I am with you. I want to spend my life supporting your dreams. So, marry me." "You don't have a ring." "I do," he said, pulling out a box. "I've been carrying it for 2 months, waiting for the perfect moment. Then I realized the perfect moment was just this. Us, doing what we love." He opened it. Inside was a vintage ring, delicate, unique. "It's from the 1940s. You said you preferred vintage. If you don't like it." "Yes," I interrupted. "Yes, I'll marry you." When he kissed me, I felt something I'd never felt with Marcus. Peace. Safety. Joy. The certainty that I could be fully myself with this person. Planning this wedding was everything the first one wasn't. We made every decision together. Actually together. Venue. The community center where we met. Guest list. 60 people who actually knew and loved us. Food. Mexican and Filipino fusion. Celebrating both our heritages. My dress. Simple and elegant, $800. Actually me. David wore a suit he already owned. I'd rather spend money on our honeymoon. My mother cried. This is what a wedding should be. At the ceremony, Jessica was my maid of honor finally. David's vows, I promise to love you not despite who you are, but because of who you are. I promise you'll never have to shrink yourself to fit into my life. Mine, I promise to trust you with my authentic self. I promise to tell you when something hurts. I promise to believe I deserve love. I promise never to sacrifice who I am in the name of love. Not a dry eye in the room. Later, dancing to our first dance, David whispered, "Thank you for trusting me with your heart after someone broke it." "Thank you for being worthy of that trust," I whispered back. 7 years after leaving Marcus, I wake up on a Saturday morning to sunlight streaming through the bedroom window and the smell of coffee wafting from downstairs. For a moment, in that hazy space between sleep and waking, I have a flash of the old panic, that feeling of dread that used to greet me every morning when I was married to Marcus. The immediate mental checklist. What mood is he in? Did I do something wrong yesterday? What do I need to do today to keep the peace? But then I hear David humming off-key in the kitchen, and I remember, that life is over. That woman who walked on eggshells every single day doesn't exist anymore. I stretch, luxuriating in the simple pleasure of waking up without fear. It's such a small thing, but even after 7 years, I never take it for granted. The ability to wake up peacefully, to start my day without anxiety knotting my stomach, to exist without constantly monitoring someone else's mood, it still feels like a gift. I grab my phone from the nightside table. It's 9:15 a.m. on a Saturday. And I slept until 9:15 a.m. without anyone making me feel guilty about it, without anyone sighing dramatically about how I'm wasting the day, without anyone making passive-aggressive comments about being lazy. There's a text from my mother, "Mija, don't forget Sunday dinner tomorrow. Your Tia is making tamales. Bring David and bring your appetite." There's a text from Jessica, "Coffee Monday morning? I need to tell you about the drama at Emma's preschool. You won't believe it." There's a text from my boss Maria, "Great job on the grant proposal. We got it. $250,000 for the mentorship program. Celebrate this weekend, you earned it." I stare at that last text, feeling tears prick my eyes. The mentorship program. My program. The one I designed, fought for, built from scratch over the past 5 years. The program that pairs at-risk youth with mentors who've walked similar paths. The program that's now being funded for another 3 years, that's being replicated in 4 other cities, that's changing kids' lives. Marcus told me my work didn't matter. That helping random kids was a waste of my education. That I should be embarrassed by what I earned. But this work is my legacy. This is what I was meant to do. And now it's funded for 3 more years because someone recognized its value. I text Maria back, "Thank you for believing in this program. And in me." She responds immediately, "You did the work, Elena. You built something incredible. Be proud." Be proud. 2 words I'm still learning to accept. 2 words that Marcus systematically trained out of me. Pride was arrogance. Celebrating accomplishments was boasting. Feeling good about myself was narcissistic. But I'm learning. Slowly. To take up space. To celebrate wins. To believe I deserve recognition for my work. I head downstairs in my oversized t-shirt and pajama shorts, the comfortable, unflattering kind that Marcus would have made comments about. "Really? That's what you're wearing?" I can still hear his voice, dripping with judgment. But David looks up from the stove where he's making pancakes and his face lights up like I'm wearing an evening gown. "Good morning, beautiful," he says, and he means it. After 2 years of marriage, 3 years of dating before that, he still looks at me like I'm the best thing he's ever seen. I made coffee. And I'm attempting pancakes, though I make no promises about their edibility. I pour myself coffee and lean against the counter, watching him cook. Our kitchen is small, nothing like the massive, magazine-worthy kitchen Marcus insisted we needed. This kitchen barely fits 2 people. The appliances are basic. The countertops are laminate, not marble. And I love it. I love every inch of this small, imperfect house. "What are you thinking about?" David asked, noticing my expression. "I'm thinking about how happy I am," I say simply. "How much I love this kitchen. How grateful I am for Saturday morning pancakes and bad humming and you." David flips a pancake, it's slightly lopsided, and grins. "The bar is so low. All I have to do is make misshapen pancakes and hum off key." "The bar isn't low," I correct him. "The bar is exactly where it should be. Basic kindness, consistent respect, and genuine affection. Marcus couldn't clear that bar in 8 years. You clear it every single day without even trying." David sets down the spatula and comes over to me, pulling me into a hug. "You know what I love about us?" he says into my hair. "We both know what bad relationships look like. So, we never take the good one for granted." He's right. David's ex-wife cheated on him, broke his trust, left him devastated. He spent 3 years in therapy rebuilding himself before he was ready to date again. We're both survivors of toxic relationships. We both know how precious it is to have something healthy. I have to go to the youth center this afternoon, I tell him, breathing in his scent coffee and soap and home. Big event. The end-of-year showcase for the mentorship program. I know, David says. I'm coming with you. My kids are performing, remember? The basketball team is doing a demonstration. Right. Because David isn't just supportive of my work, he's actively involved in it. He volunteers his time. He brings his middle school students to participate. He shows up. Marcus never came to a single event at my non-profit in 5 years of marriage. He said it was depressing to be around troubled kids. He said he had better things to do than waste his Saturday at my little charity projects. David has been to every single major event since we started dating. He helps set up chairs. He cheers for the kids. He treats my work like it matters because to him, it does. After breakfast, I go upstairs to get ready. I stand in front of the bathroom mirror, the same action I took 7 years ago when everything fell apart, except now the woman looking back at me is completely different. She's 39 now. There are fine lines around her eyes, smile lines, from actually smiling, from laughing freely without worrying if she's being too loud. There are a few grey hairs threading through the dark brown. She keeps meaning to cover them, but honestly, she doesn't care that much. She's wearing no makeup. Her hair is in a messy bun. She's in comfortable clothes. And she looks happy. Genuinely, deeply happy. I think about that woman 7 years ago, the one crying silently in her bathroom at 2 a.m., the one who didn't recognize her own reflection, the one who'd lost herself so completely she didn't know if she could ever find her way back. If I could go back and tell her what I know now, what would I say? I'd tell her, hold on. It gets so much better. The pain you're feeling right now, the fear, the uncertainty, it's all temporary. What's permanent is who you are underneath all the ways he tried to change you. And that person. She's incredible. She's strong. She's worth fighting for. I'd tell her, in 7 years, you'll wake up next to someone who makes you feel safe. You'll have work that fulfills you. You'll have friends who love you. You'll have yourself back louder, prouder, more authentically you than you've ever been. I'd tell her, leaving is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. But staying would be harder. Staying means dying slowly, piece by piece, until there's nothing left. Leaving means you get a chance to live again. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Sophia, my 17-year-old mentee. Hey Elena. Can we talk before the showcase today? I need advice about something. I smile and text back, of course. Come an hour early. I'll be there. Sophia. Sweet, smart, fierce Sophia who came to me 6 months ago trapped in a relationship with a controlling boyfriend. Sophia who I saw myself in so clearly it hurt. Sophia who listened to my story and found the courage to leave. She's thriving now. Getting straight A's. Applied to college. Has her sparkle back. That's what this work is about. Breaking cycles. Helping young people see red flags I missed. Giving them permission to choose themselves. If my experience with Marcus can help even one girl avoid what I went through, it was worth it. Every painful moment was worth it if it means I can help others escape sooner than I did. At 2 p.m., I arrive at the youth center for the showcase. The parking lot is already filling up, parents, family members, community supporters all coming to celebrate these kids. Maria meets me at the door, practically vibrating with excitement. Elena, did you see the turnout? We're going to have to bring in extra chairs. The local news is here. The mayor's office sent a representative. This is huge. I look around at the center, the space we've transformed over the past 5 years. When I started as director of the youth program, we were operating on a shoestring budget in a cramped, outdated facility. Now, thanks to grants I wrote, donors I cultivated, and community partnerships I built, we have a state-of-the-art center with a gym, computer lab, art studio, and counseling offices. You did this, Maria says, following my gaze. You had a vision and you made it happen. We did this, I correct her. It was a team effort. But Maria shakes her head. No, Elena. Give yourself credit. You wrote every grant. You pitched to every donor. You designed every program. You hired every staff member. You fought for these kids when the board wanted to cut funding. This is your legacy. Your legacy. The words settle over me like a warm blanket. Marcus used to mock my work. Playing with poor kids, he called it. Wasting your education on people who won't appreciate it. But standing here, watching kids stream in wearing shirts that say future leaders, watching parents hug their children with pride, watching a community come together to celebrate growth and possibility, this doesn't feel like waste. This feels like purpose. The showcase begins. One by one, kids take the stage to present what they've accomplished through the mentorship program. Jamal, 16, talks about how his mentor, a successful black engineer, helped him see that his love of taking things apart and putting them back together wasn't playing around but was actually engineering skills. He's now taking AP Physics and has applied to MIT. Maria, 15, talks about her mentor who taught her that being a teen mom didn't mean her life was over. She's in honors classes, working part-time, raising her daughter, and planning to study nursing. Carlos, 17, talks about his mentor who helped him channel his anger into boxing. He's now training for the Golden Gloves and has a 3.8 GPA. Story after story of kids who were written off, who were told they'd amount to nothing, who were trapped by circumstance and who found a way out through mentorship, support, and someone believing in them. Then Sophia takes the stage. 6 months ago, I was in a relationship that was slowly destroying me, she says, her voice steady and strong. My boyfriend told me what to wear, who I could be friends with, how I should spend my time. He said it was because he loved me. But Elena, my mentor, helped me understand that love doesn't control. Love doesn't diminish. Love doesn't make you smaller. I feel tears streaming down my face. Elena told me her story. Sophia continues. About staying too long in a marriage that hurt her. About finally finding the courage to leave. About rebuilding her life. And her story gave me permission to write my own ending. I broke up with my boyfriend. And you know what? I didn't fall apart. I got stronger. The audience applauds. David, sitting beside me, squeezes my hand. So thank you, Elena, Sophia says, looking directly at me. Thank you for being brave enough to share your story. Thank you for showing me that I deserve better. Thank you for proving that you can survive leaving and build something beautiful on the other side. I'm crying openly now. Because this right here is why I do this work. One girl saved. One cycle broken. One young woman who won't spend 8 years of her life in the wrong relationship because someone showed her the red flags early. Sunday evening, David and I drive to my parents' house for dinner. The street is packed with cars. My family takes Sunday dinner seriously. It's not just my parents, it's aunts, uncles, cousins, my siblings, and their kids. The house is bursting with people, noise, laughter, and the smell of tamales, arroz, and frijoles. Your family is so loud, Marcus used to say with distaste. Can't they have a normal conversation without shouting? But David grins as we walk up to the house. I love your family dinners. My family was always so quiet and formal. This is what family should be. We walk in and are immediately engulfed. My mother pulls me into a hug, speaking rapid Spanish. Mija, te ves hermosa. You look so happy. Come, come, your tia made your favorite tamales. My father shakes David's hand warmly. David, I need your advice on something. The school wants to implement a new program and I think you'd have good insights. My nieces and nephews swarm us. Aunt Elena, Uncle David, did you bring the card game? Can we play after dinner? Uncle David. They call him Uncle David like he's been part of the family forever, not just 2 years. This is what I gave up when I was with Marcus. These loud, chaotic, love-filled gatherings. Marcus made me feel guilty every time I wanted to see my family. Made me feel like choosing them meant I was being disloyal to him. Now I'm here every single Sunday. Speaking Spanish freely. Eating the food I grew up with. Laughing at my uncle's terrible jokes. Playing with my nieces and nephews. Being fully, completely myself. During dinner, my mother announces, Elena, your abuela called. She wants to talk to you about something important. My grandmother, who's 85 and still sharp as a tack, gets on the video call my cousin sets up. Mija, she says in Spanish, her face filling the phone screen. I heard about your program. About the grant. About helping young girls leave bad relationships. Sigh, abuela. I want to tell you something I never told anyone, she says, and the table goes quiet. When I was young, I was engaged to a man before your grandfather. A man who... She pauses, choosing words carefully. A man who made me feel small. Who told me I was too much, too loud, too opinionated, too difficult. I lean forward, riveted. Everyone said I should marry him. He was from a good family. He had money. I would be taken care of. But something in me said no. Said I deserved better. So, I broke the engagement. And everyone was so angry with me. They said I was foolish. That I'd thrown away my chance at a good life. But then you met Abuelo, I say softly. Then I met your grandfather, she confirms, smiling. A man who loved my loudness. Who celebrated my opinions. Who thought I was exactly enough. We had 60 beautiful years together before he passed. She looks at me through the phone screen, her eyes fierce and loving. If I had stayed with that first man, I would have disappeared. Just like you almost did. So, I want to say, I'm proud of you, Mija. For leaving when you needed to. For rebuilding. For using your pain to help others. You did what I did, but you're helping other young women do it too. I'm crying again. David's arm is around me. Thank you, abuela, I manage to say. No, she says firmly. Thank you. For being brave. For being yourself. For showing our family that we don't have to accept treatment that diminishes us. After dinner, I help my mother in the kitchen while the men watch soccer and the kids play in the yard. You're different now, my mother says, drying dishes. Than when you were with Marcus. I know. You laugh more. You speak your mind more. You take up space more. She sets down a dish and looks at me. You're who you were supposed to be all along. Before someone tried to make you into something else. Do you think I wasted those 8 years? I ask her. My mother considers this. Nothing is wasted if you learn from it. Those 8 years taught you what you don't want. What you won't accept. Who you refuse to become. And now you use those lessons to help others. That's not waste. That's a transformation. Monday morning, I'm back at the youth center for our weekly staff meeting. We're planning next quarter's programming, discussing challenges, celebrating wins. Elena, one of my staff members, Rachel, says, I need to tell you something. When I interviewed for this job 3 years ago, I was in a bad relationship. Engaged, actually, to someone who treated me a lot like you've talked about your ex treating you. Everyone at the center knows my story. I share it openly not for sympathy, but because secrets keep us sick and sharing breaks the cycle. Watching you, Rachel continues, Watching how you run this program, how you treat staff, how you champion these kids, how you show up as your full self every single day, it gave me the courage to call off my engagement. To choose myself. I never thanked you for that. You did the work, I tell her. You made the choice. But you showed me it was possible, Rachel says. That's worth everything. This is what recovery looks like. Not just healing yourself, but becoming a model for others of what's possible. Showing people they can survive leaving. They can rebuild. They can thrive. After the meeting, I have my weekly session with Sophia. She bounces into my office, full of energy. Okay, so I need advice, she says, flopping into the chair across from my desk. There's this boy in my AP Lit class. He asked me out. And I really like him, but I'm scared. What if I can't tell the difference between healthy and toxic anymore? What if I pick wrong again? I lean back in my chair, thinking about how to answer this. The difference, I finally say, is that healthy feels peaceful. You're not constantly anxious. You're not monitoring your words and actions. You're not walking on eggshells. Healthy feels safe. But how do I know it's not just the love-bombing phase? Sophia asks. My ex was great at first too. Good question, I acknowledge. Here's what to watch for. Does he respect your boundaries the first time you set them? Does he encourage your independence or try to monopolize your time? How does he react when you disagree with him? How does he treat people who can't do anything for him, waiters, janitors, people he doesn't need to impress? Sophia pulls out her phone and starts taking notes. Most importantly, I continue, trust your instincts. If something feels off, even if you can't explain why, trust that feeling. Your instincts are trying to protect you. Did your instincts try to warn you about Marcus? Sophia asks. Yes, I admit. From the very beginning. I just didn't listen. I told myself I was being paranoid, or too picky, or overthinking things. I ignored every red flag because I wanted so badly to believe in the fairy tale. I won't make that mistake, Sophia says firmly. I'm going to listen to my gut. Good, I tell her. And Sophia, you're allowed to date casually. You're allowed to take your time. You're allowed to say no if something doesn't feel right. You don't owe anyone a chance. She grins. My mom says I learned from the best. After Sophia leaves, I sit at my desk and look around my office. The walls are covered with photos kids I've worked with, staff members, community events. There's my master's degree on the wall. Awards the program has won. Thank you cards from families. This is my legacy. Not a big house I didn't want. Not a marriage that looked perfect on the outside but was hollow inside. Not a life spent trying to be someone I wasn't. This work. These kids. This impact. Marcus was wrong about everything. This work matters. These kids appreciate it. I didn't waste my education, I'm using it exactly as I should be. That evening, David and I have our nightly walk around the neighborhood, something we started when we first moved in together and have maintained religiously. No phones. Just us, talking about our days. Big day? David asked, taking my hand as we walk. Sophia asked about dating. I tell him. She's scared of picking wrong again. Smart kid, asking for advice. I told her to trust her instincts, to watch for red flags, to take her time. We walk in comfortable silence for a bit, then David says, "Can I tell you something I've never told you?" Of course. When I first met you, I was terrified to ask you out. Why? I'm genuinely surprised. David had seemed so confident, so sure. Because I could tell you'd been hurt badly, he says. I could see it in the way you held yourself, the way you were cautious about everything, the way you seemed surprised when I did basic decent things. And I was scared I wouldn't be patient enough. Or that you'd never fully trust me because of what he did to you. I stop walking, turning to face him. Did you doubt us? No, David says immediately. I never doubted us. I just doubted whether I could live up to what you deserved after what you'd been through. You don't have to live up to anything, I tell him. You just have to be you. Consistent, kind, real you. That's more than enough. David pulls me into a hug right there on the sidewalk. I love you, Elena Rodriguez. I love how strong you are. I love how you've turned your pain into purpose. I love that you help other people escape what you couldn't escape for so long. I love you too, I tell him. Thank you for being patient while I learned to trust again. Thank you for proving that healthy love exists. We continue our walk, talking about mundane things, what to have for dinner, whether we should finally paint the guest room when we want to visit David's family. Normal, everyday conversations that feel extraordinary because they're peaceful. No fighting. No manipulation. No silent treatment. Just partnership. Before bed, I pull out my journal. I haven't missed a day of journaling since the divorce. It's been crucial to my healing, my growth, my ability to process everything. Tonight, I write. 7 years ago today, I had my first therapy session with Dr. Rivera. I was so broken I could barely articulate what was wrong. I just knew I hurt everywhere, all the time. I knew I'd lost myself completely. I knew I needed help finding my way back. Today, I'm sitting in a home I love, married to a man who makes me feel safe, doing work that fulfills me, surrounded by people who celebrate me. 7 years. It took 7 years to rebuild what took 8 years to destroy. But here's what I've learned. Healing isn't linear. There are still days I doubt myself. Still moments I hear Marcus's voice in my head telling me I'm too much or not enough. Still triggers that catch me off guard. But those moments are getting rarer. And I'm getting stronger. Today Sophia asked me about dating. Today Rachel thanked me for helping her leave her toxic engagement. Today my abuela told me about the man she almost married, the life she would have lived if she hadn't chosen herself. Today I realized, my story isn't just my story anymore. It's part of something bigger. It's part of breaking cycles, changing narratives, helping people understand that love shouldn't hurt. If I could go back and talk to the woman I was 7 years ago, the one crying in her bathroom at 2 a.m., the one who thought she was too broken to be fixed, I'd tell her, you're going to make it. It's going to hurt worse before it gets better. You're going to doubt yourself 1,000 times. You're going to wonder if leaving was a mistake. You're going to feel lost and alone and terrified. But you're going to survive. And then you're going to thrive. And then you're going to help other people survive and thrive too. So, hold on. Just a little longer. Hold on. I close my journal and set it on the nightstand. David is already in bed, reading a book about teaching strategies for kids with learning differences. You, okay? He asks, noticing my expression. Yeah, I say, climbing into bed beside him. Just thinking about how far I've come. You've come so far, David agrees, setting down his book and pulling me close. You should be proud. I am, I say, and I realize it's true. I am proud. Of leaving. Of rebuilding. Of helping others. Of becoming who I was always meant to be. David turns off the light, and we settle into our usual sleeping position, me curled against him, his arm around me, safe and warm and home. Before I fall asleep, I think one more time about that woman 7 years ago. The one who couldn't see a way out. The one who thought endurance was love. I think, I did it. I got out. I rebuilt. I'm okay. Better than okay. I'm happy. And if I can do it, anyone can. There's always a way out. There's always hope. There's always the possibility of a better life waiting on the other side of fear. You just have to be brave enough to choose yourself. And with that thought, I drift off to sleep peaceful, content, free in a life I built from the ashes of the one that almost destroyed me. 7 years later, I'm not just surviving. I'm thriving. And that's everything.